Hello and welcome to WP Roundtable episode number 12, where today we are going to start with SEO. And Brian, you want to take off with the introduction?
Hey guys, I'm Brian Redder. I'm a developer here in Dayton. Really happy to be back after a couple week hiatus from here.
All right. Next up, I am Kellen Mace from Rochester Hills, which is on the west side of Michigan. Freelance web developer. For hire me. Work for you. Website down below. Launched as of a few weeks ago. Happy to be on with you guys talking SEO. That's my best sales pitch, by the way.
Yeah, just don't hire Kellen for any navigation or geographical purposes. Last I heard, Rochester was on the east side of the state.
It is. I said east side. Did I not say east side?
No.
Moving on.
Oh, man.
All right.
Word slip. My apologies. Kyle was very offended by me.
Sorry to call you out there. That's
East.
yeah. All right. So I'm Kyle Maurer, lead developer for Real Big Marketing, based in Jackson, Michigan, and I'm excited to talk about SEO. Oh, baby.
Hey everyone, Nathan Driver, digital media strategist / web developer here in Dayton, Ohio as well, and I do nothing but SEO, more or less, I guess. But yeah, let's do this.
And Jason Crawford, independent web developer. I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and I do web development and content strategies. So, Nathan, you ready to start duking this out? You ready to start throwing stuff down?
Whoa. Wait,
Whoa,
what?
whoa.
It's about to get real.
All right, you guys want to know the #1 secret to SEO? I'm about to give it. Content. Done. It's over.
It's too boring. That can't be right.
Wow.
Yeah. Just content.
I heard that. SEO's dead, right? Right, Nate?
SEO is dead. Forget it. Just content. That's it. Don't worry about anything else in your life. Just do content.
Well, and that was our show for tonight.
It was over. You heard it here first.
Oh, God. What do we want to talk about, guys? I mean, SEO is such a broad topic in reality.
So, hey, look, when I wrote up my little introduction post there, I just broke it down primarily into on-site and off-site. You guys want to break it out that way?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah.
On-site, do better content. Does that work?
Tell us like you tell your clients, Nate.
Now I know why you said your boss was going to fire you after this.
Okay, you really want to know. You need between 300 and 350 words. You need a good H1, H2, and H3. You need a bolded list. You need italicized. You got to make sure that you have a sitemap.xml. You got to make sure that you have Google Analytics connected with your Google Webmaster Tools. You have to make sure that there are no 404s. You have to look at who's linking to your content, what the anchor text are, and you have to make sure that your 3R1s are correctly redirected with the proper anchor text. How's that work?
That's a start. Now you say 3 to 350, and I say that would be bare minimum.
Yeah.
The highest ranking websites typically, or pages, typically have about 2,000 words from studies I've looked at.
Yeah.
And then 300 won't even get ranked. 300 or less than 300 just pretty much gets dropped off the map.
Well, it actually depends upon your audience, who your target market is. If you're a plumber in, say, Central Michigan or whatnot, and you want people to just say, someone Googles, how do I unclog a drain? You want your site, you don't want 2,000 words. You want 350. You want to be quick, concise, and to the point.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that when you're talking content strategies. SEO specifically, yeah. I mean, if that's what's going to get shared, if that's what's going to get liked, if that's what's going to be keep people from bouncing, then you do need to know your target audience.
Right.
So definitely something to be said for that. You went down the list of all the H tags. You say H1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right?
Not that far. I always try to tell clients, obviously H1 is the most important. Try to at least, depending on how long your content is, try to get down to H3. But again, your content is going to be what's going to drive everything else.
Right.
So I mean, sometimes you can even get down to H5, H6s, but again, it's how long do you really want to try to engage your audience?
Well, and you may not even need to necessarily go down them in order and break it down through that. For an example, in this last post that I used today, that I posted this morning, I used an H6 as more of almost as a block quote type situation, just to put another H tag in there. I was using it as a reference point to explain the situation, but yeah, you can use various H tags. I don't know if, I don't know, you tell me, do you think it's important to actually go down the list, or can you throw one in there that looks that kind of fits the flow of what you're looking for?
Well, I mean, Google's come out and said more or less that they look at the H1s, the H2s, and the H3s. So they're looking at the level of importance. So obviously the H1's always going to be your title more or less, and then the content, does it support that title? And then as you go into the H2, so on and so forth. So if you're doing a content strategy and you're using that same type of formula, then it should basically follow that kind of chain where it kind of goes down in a lateral move.
In general, I tend to agree with you. I've just got one question based off that on your opinion. You say that the H1 is going to be the title, which makes it really interesting because if you're using WordPress, your post should already have a title as a title in its own. That makes me, generally what I do is I'll put an intro paragraph and then rephrase my title, putting in a question or a comment in some way. So again, use that keyword or whatever, but re-engage the audience. So instead of like, SEO, hey, here's a quick paragraph about what SEO is, and now how do we improve SEO on our sites being an H1 tag?
I think that's a good point, Jason, because I believe it's bad practice to have more than one H1 tag on a page.
Correct.
Somebody else can confirm with that. But
I would agree. I would agree.
And so in a lot of cases, and typically it is the case with WordPress, so the H1 is built into most templates. So if you're blogging, single.php will usually be using the H1 tag outside of the content for like the title itself, and which the end result is I'm rarely ever, or pretty much never, using an H1 tag in the body of my content because it already usually typically exists on the page. Do you recommend that kind of a practice to your clients?
I would suggest try to go to a H2, but again, it really kind of depends on the content. If you're doing, we keep talking about SEO, so if you're talking about SEO and you're talking about on-site, off-site, would on-site and off-site be an H1 tag, or would they be H2 because they actually support the H1, which is about SEO? So it's one of those things that you actually have to kind of strategize a little bit. And there's nothing that says that you can't change it down the road after it's been crawled and said, you know what, it's not working for us, let's change this a little bit, resubmit it to the Google Webmaster Tools and Bing tools as well, and see what happens.
And this is all why they're coming up with that term OCDC, right?
OCD. Oh boy.
All right. We know who else is already who tapped into the beer a little early.
No, seriously, it's a true term. OCDC is optimizing content for discovery of content. Or discovery of conversion.
Discovery of conversion. Okay. That's an interesting term.
Yeah, OCDC. So it's more not focusing necessarily on the SEO, the search engine optimization. It's all about optimizing that content. just like you're
Right.
saying.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard that. That's cool, though. I like that.
Because I was just going to add it to my list of possible great band names,
Yeah, that's right.
but I guess I'll take it off now.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, though. Now, I got to give
I was really trying to
that are
figure out
watching this.
just having OCD.
I have ADD, no, ADHD. No, sorry.
Yeah, Nate, I've got 80 something. I lost track.
No, that's called Alzheimer's.
Ah.
Oh, that's not funny.
Oh, jeez.
So, how about outside content? Photos, media.
Yes, yes. Now, since everybody knows that Google owns YouTube.
They do?
What are you doing here, Kyle?
That's exactly what we're here.
What was this?
Amen, brother.
Yes. People it drives me nuts when we have clients that will take a picture with their phone or their $5,000 camera and they'll upload it straight to their website that they spent good money on, and it has the DCM 57292.jpg, and it gives no description. There's no the file URL structure is ridiculous. So it drives me absolutely wild. So yes, optimize anything and everything on the website. That's around the content.
Yep. I think optimizing photos goes well beyond just changing the name, but definitely change the title and put that alt tag, that alt description in. And but yeah, we could go on forever about optimizing photos, but definitely those two things are important when it comes to search engine optimization.
And it's not just the search engine optimization, Jason. It's the accessibility too. So you just got to keep that in mind. Where you're not for the photo optimization, you're not just optimizing for search. You're optimizing it for multiple other things as well. They all kind of go hand in hand with that, though.
Right. But I mean, I'm just referring to optimizing images.
Right.
Higher topic for SEO. That's a critical step.
Oh, definitely. I remember back in 2008, 2009, I actually wrote a blog post. My kid was like 2 or 3 years old. We drove by a McDonald's. He sees the golden arches. Couldn't read, couldn't write. He's like 2 or 3 years old. And he goes, "Oh, McDonald's," because he saw the golden arches. So I did a blog post. I grabbed a logo for McDonald's, and I talked about McDonald's logos and how they basically influence people, and especially young individuals. And all of a sudden, I saw my site traffic skyrocket over the next couple of weeks because I had tagged that image of McDonald's logo as McDonald's logo, and so everything, all the traffic. If you Googled McDonald's logo, I was actually number 3, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, my big success story with that is having a photo of a bunch of women in Costa Rica, titling it "Costa Rican Women," and I still get hits out of that.
I would rather get hits that way.
Well, the problem is a lot of that's not the targeted traffic that I'm looking for. Here I am writing a quote, about traveling, and I've got 50 hits a day of people looking for things that aren't necessarily family-friendly travel writing.
Yeah.
So, but I've definitely had it happen. So, what else for on-site? We've got, I guess we could run down the list of things as far as keeping what nowadays is considered the optimal amount of keyword density. Because I think that's kind of gotten played out a little bit and a little bit damaged in some ways. And so I guess I know a lot of us use Yoast's WordPress SEO plugin, Is that pretty much everybody, or is there somebody out there being an oddball?
No, you got to get all green dots.
Yeah.
No, don't go for the green dots. No, don't do it. Oh, oh God,
Sounds
Brian.
like all of them.
Hey, I like the green
I
dots.
know.
Can't get wrapped up in making sure that you've got every green dot. That can be a problem.
Yes, there you go. No, I have had clients call me after they've tried to optimize a page or a blog post for 2 days straight, all day, trying to get that green dot. And I'm like, they've been wasting their whole day working on that. I'm going, and that bugs me more than anything.
Well, the one
And
that really bothers me is the keyword density, and I almost wish they'd take it out there, just put it in as a recommendation, a general guideline, because if you're using a long-tail keyword, a keyword that's more than one word, you may not put those 2 words together all the time, and Google's still going to be able to figure out what your content is about.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I think that I see that one become a little bit frustrating sometimes, because if I do meet that 1%, I think is what they require for the green dot, then that means I've probably got those if it's 3 words, I used search engine optimization that today is for my example, and I might have been talking about search engines in one moment and optimizing your site, and if you use optimizing instead of optimization, it doesn't get counted. So yeah, I think that can easily be way overblown if somebody is trying to reach that requirement. So what Google's algorithm might see is 15% of your words are now part of your keyword phrase, as opposed to the 1% you were going for, but just because they weren't put together, they were used in a past tense or something, that can make a difference. So that's probably one of the big ones that that I kind of try to push people not to go overboard on.
Right. No, I agree wholeheartedly.
What else is big on the on-site list?
Yeah. I got one I'll interject. How about page speed? All right. This often comes up for me. I'm torn between the client who wants a very speedy, responsive site, and coincidentally, that's what ranks very highly search engines, namely Google, right? However, they're drawn toward the flashiness of sliders and other media being loaded in, stuff like that, right? Which could knock them down in terms of Google, but it might display what they want for the site. What's the recommendation for limiting some of that stuff, or making it as light as possible, or removing it altogether so that you still rank highly on Google?
I say use it all. But use it smartly. So if you're using photos, you can have the photo drawn from Flickr. If you're using video, you can have it drawn from YouTube. Those things aren't relying on your website's server to draw that information, and therefore your website isn't being slowed down by that. All that information is being drawn by the YouTube server, the Google server, or Flickr. So I don't see any reason why that stuff can't be used. Just make sure that you're not loading a whole bunch of video on your server. That could obviously create some issues if you're dealing with a slow server, or a client's got a slow server. And photos, as long as they're optimized, I've got page-wide photos that are less than 40 kilobytes, and especially if they're like progressively loading, that stuff's not going to slow you down a whole lot, but it does take a process to get them down to that size from my 6-megapixel camera or whatever it is.
Right. Well, and even if you're loading things from external sources like that, it's less resource intensive for your web server, right? That's your point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, for SEO, it's still taking more time to load those than it would have just to do without them, of course, right? Yeah.
I mean, I would even, depending on the client's budget, even talk to them about doing CDNs for like Amazon if the site has a lot of images. Yeah. And depending on what type of server that they're hosted on, if you get on a shared server, one day you do the page speed with Google and you're getting 80s, 93s, and that's great. But then all of a sudden, when they're doing like a big campaign, you're getting 60s and 50s. Well, Google's going to see that and they're going to start knocking you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I was going to throw in a little recent article, not that recent, written on Moz last August. So it's not like real recent, but it's still a great article because they did some really awesome tests. So it's been talked about for a long time about how page speed impacts search rankings. And Moz kind of broke this down and did some like real thorough tests to kind of analyze this because page speed isn't like a real simple metric, and so it's typically oversimplified. Just make your site faster, and Google will like it better. So in this article, they kind of analyzed exactly what is important here. So they ran a lot of tests on a whole bunch of queries in Google, and then analyzed the load times for all the sites on the first whole bunch of pages. And then they've got some great charts here, and I'll put the link in the show notes for sure, or make sure we get it in there. But they charted out like the load times for the site and demonstrated like the rankings of the fast-loading sites versus the slow-loading sites and what the trends were. And so I thought some of it was very, very interesting, mostly that at the end of the article, I can quote what they said that was really interesting. Takeaways. Our data, this is what they said in the article, our data shows that there is no correlation between page load time, either document complete or fully rendered, and ranking on Google's search results page. But this was only for some generic searches, with just a few keywords. And there was a correlation between what's called time to first byte, which would be the first successful connection that your browser establishes to a website. So the things that impact time to first byte are like network latency, how heavily loaded the web server is, and how quickly the server can generate the content and serve it back. So it's not, their findings was basically that like the time it took to load a big image, the time it looked for a JavaScript file to run, or a slider to process, or all the posts on a page to appear visually, that in their tests had actually no impact on the ranking, the position of sites, but there was a correlation between the ones that appeared high in the rankings and the ones that had a quick time to first byte. And so they talk about some of the things that really help you improve time to first byte, and those are using tools like a CDN, which can distribute your content so that it's loading from like the most local server or highly optimized servers, having a version of your site served up much more quickly, and versions of your content so much more quickly, and that does have a big impact on time to first byte. So I thought that was really interesting findings. They did add that it is their belief that it's probably not going to stop here, and while it was there now, and it is probably still very similar over time, search engines probably will be factoring more metrics when it comes to page load, but with current technology, it's understandably difficult to have like a universal standard when page load is impacted by so many different things.
Right.
It can be so different on a user-by-user basis that it's difficult to like have a easy-to-use measurement in Google's eyes. But time to first byte is a very simple metric for them to use. So that's just something that I thought was like totally interesting, and emphasizes the value of running like good servers, using a CDN, optimizing the back end, more so like than even the front end. I've optimized the front end as a user experience focus, and optimize the back end because Google really looks at that. So what's your guys' take on that?
I don't think it'll ever really play a big impact of the whole page load speed because there's really no way of holding that with the increased options that are available for loading pages. Take, for example, a lazy load on your photos, which will not render those photos until somebody's actually scrolled to them. Well, if Google is looking at that as part of a load, then that's going to be a slow load, but it's going to actually increase the load time or you speed up the website. It's made to speed up the website. While if you were looking at those images independently, it would take forever. Same thing with the eternal flow, the Facebook famous eternal flow, where as you continue scrolling, more stories and new stuff comes up. And things like that are going to make it even harder and harder to use full page load time as a reference, a quality reference for anything.
Basically, I would say that if I were Google, I'd be saying, really, folks, it shouldn't take us telling you that our search engine likes fast pages for you to realize how important that is. It shouldn't take Google saying you gotta have your page load quickly for us to say, you know what, maybe we should make our pages load quickly. Because basically, if we have a slow loading page, our users just can't use it. They can't interact with the user experience, and no matter how many visitors Google sends to it, we're not going to get the results we want to see. And so that's why I'd be working on enhancing the speed of the page so it's usable for the users, and then enhancing the content and the back end so that it's friendly for the search engines, and then I get that traffic.
Yep. No, I mean, definitely it's an aspect of it. It's really one that, unless you're willing to go out and purchase better server space, or really get into how your server's being set up and everything, it's not one that most people just, with the WordPress website are going to be able to do. But there are definitely things that can enhance it. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of things you can do to adjust your website load time. But time to first byte is really kind of outside of the normal WordPress realm, I think.
Right.
But hey, anything else on site that you guys want to comment on that we missed already?
What about videos, guys?
Videos?
Some of my clients ask me about videos.
Go to YouTube. Go to Vimeo.
Got 'em.
Yeah, no. Some people. I've had clients come to me and say, I heard that if I put this video on my site, that the site will rank better. I embed videos.
No. Again, it depends on the content and what their strategy is behind that. I've been in that same boat, Kyle, where they're like, oh, we like this great video. We just spent all this money on it for our new commercial. We want to put it up on our homepage. I go, but your homepage content says nothing about this commercial that you spent all this money on. So let's leverage it on your YouTube channel, that connects to your Google Plus profile, and that also shows as an author for your press releases. And let's do a whole big strategy with this. And so Google will see this, and you're leveraging Google Plus, YouTube, and now your on-site SEO.
Yeah, you have to have the content there for the video, otherwise they're not going to see what the video is about. They're not scraping the video.
Google.
Yeah,
the
Google.
Search. Right. Yeah, I don't see video making a huge difference in search engine optimization. I don't see any reason why not to use it and incorporate it into content strategies, but I don't think it's going to. Something like this video, a Google Hangout or something like that won't even bring traffic to our website. It'll bring traffic to our Google page and then leverage that to backlink to your website and bring in traffic. But no, putting a video on your website isn't going to do anything, I don't think, for search engine optimization.
Yeah. What I always tell people is, if the video is a public video, put it on YouTube with a really good description that links back to your website.
Yes.
If it's not a public video and you only want it on your website, use Vimeo.
I suppose another thing that I would that I do believe is that if you're targeting people searching for a video on something, you can leverage putting a video on your site and target the searches where somebody may be searching for video of repairing my dryer or something, video of cat skateboarding. You could, if you want to bring that cat skateboard lover traffic to your website, you can put the video on your site and write the article that using the keywords, video of a cat skateboarding, and then that page would show in those queries, and so you can be leveraging it that way, I guess.
You better have a specific niche, because otherwise YouTube and Vimeo are going to just outrank you. If you click that video section and you're actually looking for a video on that, YouTube and Vimeo are just going to outrank you unless you have a very specific niche and are not hosting or haven't well described that same video wherever you're hosting. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Can you do rich snippets with video? Kind of like if you search for something, the video shows in the search result.
Yes.
Can you do that if you have the video just hosted yourself?
No. I think there has to be some type of schema for videos.
I believe there is.
Is there?
Oh, don't quote me that. I'd have to look it up because I don't use it. But I think that there is. But I just don't. I don't deal with people hosting their videos on their own sites. So.
Right.
Yeah, I highly discourage it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Like there are I don't know. It would depend on what it's about. I mean, if it's like a recipe, then you could do a recipe schema. If it's a training,
Shopping cart, they have the product schema.
Right, exactly. So there are different ways that you could kind of go about it. But yeah,
Schema.org for more information.
Yes, please look at it, review it, memorize it. Love it. I cannot overemphasize it enough. I mean, it has boosted some of our clients just beyond our own compensation, just by using some small text to it. Anyway.
Yeah.
How
You
about,
guys ever visit Black Hat World?
Oh, no, we're not talking about, nope. Matt Cuts, if you were watching, I did not say Black Hat World. I mean, I did not mention, I don't know anything about that site.
I've heard him say it himself, that it's a good resource for information.
I'm not,
Interesting reading, for sure.
Kellen, did you have something that you wanted to talk about?
I did. Once the group is recomposed,
Yeah, go ahead.
we can move on. I was going to mention the importance of permalink structure.
Ooh.
Permalink is WordPress speak for the URL or the web address.
So you mean the question mark P equals 1185?
That is a perfect example of what not to do.
Oh, man.
So all the SEO experts out there say the ideal permalink structure is your site name .com .org, whatever it may be, / the post name or the page name directly after that. The way I understand it is the further to the left, or toward the domain name words are, the more important they are. So if I have a restaurant and the certain dish that we're known for is located at /menu /seafood /specials / and then there's the name of whatever dish it is, it's been pushed so far back that it won't rank very highly for those words. Is that correct? What do you guys say?
Crap. If you go to Moz, and Kyle mentioned it earlier, moz.com, they actually have a cheat sheet. And I don't have one in front of me. But they actually say, like, how many extensions you should have, and I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. So I mean, the example that you gave, it might work because it's not menus, on Tuesday / seafood West Coast. It's not very long. It's very short and concise. So, but if it's long, because what's the ideal? 70 characters for a title description. So it would work. But again, it depends on what's in the content.
Yeah, I was just
always
saying that I feel like it's what the content is, and it's what the like layout of the site is. A news site, almost every news site you go to is year, month news article.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that, I can understand that, but for a restaurant site, yeah, you want it as close to the left as possible.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really one of the added benefits of WordPress, is because they're set up for pretty permalinks right out the bat, and you just go in and you set it. There's a permalink section. Go in and set it up. I always do one of two things: either just the poster page name, or the post name with the date, with the month and year. And that all depends on the type of content that's going to be on a website. So for my travel blog, I might have, the date and year, because I might revisit a place a year later and say, oh, this place used to be dangerous and now it's safe. Okay, this is relevant. The timestamp is relevant. Whereas a recipe might not be relevant, and you might not want to revisit that recipe. Or if you do, it might be better to come in and update that post rather than creating an entirely new post off the same or similar recipe, if that makes sense. Because you wouldn't want what I see happen occasionally, and I've actually been guilty of it myself once, and where I caught myself and never did it again, was redating it with new information. So I update a post, a month later, and put a new date, reset the date stamp for now, which resets my permalink for now, and now I've got to do a 301 301 redirect, because I've got these backlinks running to it. So if you if there's relevance to the timeline, then use it. Otherwise, I say stick with just the post type and page name.
Yeah. And I have some code snippets that might help folks out there. At least they helped me a little bit ago. As fans of the show might know, I do. Many of my sites are for a race company. They're a big client of mine. They put on 5Ks and 10K races, that kind of thing. And they, on some of their sites, there's a custom post type of race. So by default, it's all those posts, under the under that subdirectory, or so it looks in the URL. So it would be website.com/race, since that's my post type, / and then finally whatever the article name was, which for them, if they're doing a race in Ohio this year, it would be Ohio 2014 something. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was maybe it sounds like more of a minor SEO issue, but the bigger issue was just kind of cleanliness or nice URLs. I thought, if their site, if every single post they have is a race, and I know that there's never going to be duplication, why have that race word in there? Why not extract that and then have it just be website.com/Ohio 2014? Just it's clean, simple, easy to remember, that kind of thing. And I ended up, to help me out, I found some code snippets that were on WordPress VIP. They had a page, just some easy code you can plug into a functions.php file or throw it into a plugin that would just extract that custom post type. So it would be website.com/ whatever the post name was, which I found really helpful and I used in several of my sites. But I tried to revisit that link recently and it's been taken down or removed. So in any event, I did a blog post recently. I just took some of their not verbatim, but some of the code snippets that I had originally gotten from VIP and modified for my use. I then just made an article and put it out there for anybody who wants similar code snippets. So I'll put that in the show notes. A link to that blog post I did if anybody's interested in removing that custom post type from their URLs that WordPress puts in there by default.
talking about URL structures,
Yeah.
meta tags. I know we kind of mentioned it maybe a little bit before. I can't overemphasize that. Yes, it's not crawled as much as it used to be back in the day with the meta description, but even from
the SEO.
What's that?
The golden years of
Yeah, the golden years when it was easy.
stuff.
No,
Words.
but there are so many different pages or archives or categories that, as developers or people that create these websites for our clients, that we need to be aware of. That they need to show to say, hey, if this is about news, then we need to have a call to action for that. If we have certain tags on there within our site, that we need to actually have some type of meta description for that tag. Just being proactive, more or less. I just had to make sure I put it out in the show today, because it gets overlooked so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got anything else for on-site, or you guys want to try to brush over to off-site, since we've almost beaten the timeline out on just hitting on-site optimization?
Let's switch over, yeah.
Okay, so one of the recent changes that has been messing with people, obviously there's those bad sites that everybody well, not everybody, but a lot of people, most of the people who were doing stuff kind of shady to begin with, got hit with penalties for their sites, and now they're going back and trying to reclaim those links. I'm not going to get into all that, but how about just the relevance of anchor text these days?
I still think it's important. I mean, not from an SEO point, but, well, yes, from an SEO point, but also from, I just went blank, from a disability user's perspective. If they're using some type of reader to read the website and you don't have a properly tagged link, anchor text, then they're not going to be able to know what exactly you're talking about. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, why not? Anchor text.
Anyway.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I know it was brought up recently, and I know Matt Cutts kind of went over it and said that, well, they're not expecting it as much as they used to be, and so now they're looking for the more natural amount, which some people have estimated between 30 and 50% anchor text, whatever it might be. So I'm just not sure what everybody else's opinion on where that might be right now. I know, Nathan, you probably deal with that more than I do. So I mean, I still like to have them as much as possible. It's better than just having my website linked back, but I don't know what everybody else's opinion on those actual numbers are, and how much of that should it be anchor text to my keyword versus anchor text towards some other word that's relevant. So, you know, if we're talking about pizza, would it say pizza or great ingredients? You know, is that going to make a difference? So I guess that's a lot of stuff that's still up in the air that I'd like other people's opinion on.
I'm pretty sure you're always supposed to say, click here.
No!
And for every link.
That's what I was missing out on.
No!
It's wrapped in the blink tag too, right?
Oh my god! Alright, how do I close this out? No click here's. No, I am adamantly against that. You know, the pizza example, it depends upon the content that it's linking to. If it's about your homepage, which is about pizza, that's great. But if it's about an inner page that you talk about the ingredients that you use for the pizza, then yeah, it's a little bit more descriptive.
Well, and one of the things about this is we really have no control over how other people backlink. I guess if we're out there doing a backlink strategy using Web
Right.
2.0, things of that nature. But I guess when you're kind of looking at things, when you're kind of looking at your own backlinks, trying to do your own SEO analysis, is there a sweet spot, or is there more importantly, I guess, is there a point where you should get worried and start going back and saying, okay, something's going on here, or I'm either too low on my anchor text or too high on my anchor text. Maybe I can reach out to some of these people and say, hey, can you, let me just help you on your SEO a little bit. Can you anchor text my link there by doing this? And
Well, yes, but no. What I have found is if it's one of those, we're not getting enough inbound links from the web, we'll send out press releases to certain companies that are in the same market field and say, hey, can you link to us? Here's the article. We'll write it for them. We'll give them the anchor text. We'll give them all the information. All they have to do is take it and put it in. And with that, we'll actually write a blog post or a press release or a news post or whatever you want to call it, and say, hey, check out this great thing that this site domain A wrote about us. And so there's that communication that Google sees in between. So yes, we're linking back. They're seeing us. Now, is there a good ratio? No. There's no magic number that's going to get you there. Because, if you look at, like a ton of the news sites that are out there, like New York Times, CNN, it's not like they're linking to the people that they're actually getting the stories from. They're not linking to the Twitter feed that they saw that the latest breaking news. They're just writing about it. And so it's one of those things that it's just the way it is.
Yeah, no, I guess my issue would be seeing too many of one kind and not enough of another. Would there be a point at which, let's say, if I'm at 85, 90% of, are just not anchor text at all, would that be a point at which I start reaching out? And personally, I think if I started to realize that, I don't really watch my backlinks all that closely. Maybe once every few months, I'll go through a site and dig through the backlinks or whatever. But if I did see that, I might say, okay, let me look at what these other sites are and say, hey, can you, in relevance to your article here, can you put, give me this anchor text, or maybe let me work with you. That's just where I'm trying to get. I don't know if you've got a sweet spot like that.
No, I more or less look at who's linking to me, and do I need to go into Webmaster Tools and actually do a disavow link? Do I need to say, oh, that's a bad site. They got, their page rank is 0. They're talking about whatever, I'm making pizzas and they're talking about bondage or something, something so far outfield that I need to say, I don't want their link juice. I don't want them associated with what I'm doing here. But if they're talking, if I'm making pizza and they're talking about, they make onions, well, and I talk about an article how I make onions on my pizza, then yeah, it'll correlate.
I would like to know how you make onions.
Yes. Are these synthetic? Rather than synthetic onions? Your pizza sounds awesome.
I forgot I was talking to an SEO guy and not a farmer.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea.
Nate's pizza must be awesome. It's space pizza. He sells it to NASA.
Shh. I don't want to let my secret out yet.
I got a question. Well, I don't know if it's a question, just an interesting SEO topic that we deal with a lot of times. So a big thing for us is for a lot of our customers targeting a number of geographic regions specifically. And so the question is always, what's the best strategy for targeting the different regions, even though basically our keywords are the same each time, our message and our calls to action are the same each time, the offers and everything. It's always the same. We just want to target a different region. So how about talking about strategies for handling that? Because I think there's a lot of businesses who have this issue.
Are you talking about localizing, or are you talking about moving into another region?
Localizing mostly. Yeah, just targeting the same message to different regions in your area. Different municipalities, different counties.
What I've actually done with clients is set up specific landing pages with content about that geographical area. So if it's, say, about a dentist that it's the next town over, so I talk about that town, let's say talk about dentist, and then link back to the main page or the main services with that anchor text. And within 30 to 60 days, I would actually link for dentist or, you know, the service space, product or service provided, or town name.
You know, I think if I was going to be, I'm trying to, if I understand you right, you're talking like you're in Chicago and now you want to push your product out to a surrounding city, I don't know, even, let's go a little bit far and say Dayton there, or whatever, Cincinnati, that, you know, try to spread out to that regional area. And I think if that was the route I was trying to go, I would do, yeah, like you said with the landing page, I would probably also try to set up maybe sub-corporate Google Plus pages and get those registered if maybe you've got a business connection there.
But you got to be careful because you have to have the actual mailbox.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you've got personnel there, if you're trying to branch out, you've got a sales rep there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Pizza Hut's obviously got a Pizza Hut brand, but there's obviously a Pizza Hut in, you know, New York and a Pizza Hut in San Francisco. Google's going to say, okay, well, let's give them each credit for their local localization. And then I would probably start working on maybe if from an SEO standpoint, trying to get my backlinks in that community, maybe forums or local Facebook pages or maybe other local websites, because even with like local forums and stuff, Google will recognize that these are locally drawn, and that backlink will be recognized as a local issue. I know I don't remember where I met this guy, but he was working in, I want to say like Seattle and doing SEO in Seattle, and his website was coming up, you know, whatever he was doing was coming up like 7 on Google across the country. And he was just not getting it locally, and what he did was he found a couple local forums that were just entirely local forums and got his posts in there, got some backlinks out of there, and then all of a sudden he went up to 2 locally, and it was a local service, and dropped off the page for the rest of the country. And really, you know, that really drives your local traffic. So those are probably some things that I would think about incorporating, if that makes sense.
I mean, local SEO could probably take up a whole discussion.
Right.
I mean, Google, obviously, Google Plus, your Facebook. I mean, just some resources out there for the users, for the viewers. Check out Yext, yext.com. Moz, again, you know, it's a great reference, but they actually bought a company that specializes in local SEO, and it's one of those where you can actually search to see if there's any duplicates of your company, where you're lacking. You know, are you on Twitter, are you on Facebook? Because those are social rankings. And the more times that a company has local reviews from either Google+, Yelp, Foursquare, or whatnot, it's going to rank them higher. It's going to show them on search engine result pages on service.
That cover it, Kyle?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you guys. I think we should get local SEO on a topic for another day, because there's a lot of things to talk about there, and it's, I think, something that impacts a lot of businesses. And I think conversely, targeting national searches is another thing that's a whole different issue. But yeah, that's it.
Nice. Well, all right. Real quickly at the end, I was just going to mention 2 resources that have helped me out in the past. Thought I'd mention those. One is a great post. Again, we'll make sure to put it in the show notes, but it's just an article by Yoast. So at the beginning of this episode, we mentioned that I think it sounds like all of us on the panel use WordPress SEO by Yoast. It's a really great plugin. The way I understand it, though, it's still behind in just total number of downloads, still behind all-in-one SEO. But
Really?
I think, yeah. I heard Yoast say that himself on a podcast.
Even recently with the all-in-one SEO having that basically a problem with their script. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't think I hadn't heard about that, but yeah, I heard Yoast himself say it on a podcast maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. He wouldn't say the name All-in-One SEO though. He said the plugin that shall not be named. I thought that was pretty great. Though, but irregardless, really highly rated, great SEO plugin. But Yoast, he has a blog and has a great post just called "The Definitive Guide to." Let me pull up the actual title. Just WordPress SEO, the definitive guide to higher rankings for WordPress sites. This is a huge article, and it covers all the topics we have in this talk and even more. So I recommend that resource. There's also a good YouTube channel. It's a WordPress design and development studio called Slocum Studio. But they do. I think it's a weekly show. They do a SEO lunch. It's called, where they'll pick off just one tiny little topic related to SEO and talk about it in just like 20 minutes. It's supposed to be. The idea is so that if you're an entrepreneur or involved in SEO in some capacity for your business, the idea is you could watch it on your lunch break, that kind of thing, because their videos are like 10, maybe 20 at most minutes. They're pretty quick, but cover a topic pretty well. So you can link to that one as well. Any other thoughts, you guys?
Everyone should have Google Analytics already installed. That's basically a no-brainer. But make sure that you do have Google Webmaster Tools set up. You do have a sitemap.xml file. There are plugins. Just Google within WordPress plugins. There are several out there. And just connect with your Google Analytics with your Webmaster Tools. I can't overemphasize that enough.
Nate,
now, I'll leave you with that.
Real quick, though. We were just talking about Yoast, and you're talking about Webmaster Tools. Yoast has the ability for other Webmaster Tools in there. What's your opinion on that?
It depends on... No, it's good. He has that Google Analytics, which is good because you can actually track down how popular each post type. So if you got different custom post types, if you have different authors, if your content ranges in years, you can actually see which is popular in the years. So it'll show up in your Google Analytics custom events. So that's great to have, but you have to make sure that the way that it's implemented, that it's not overriding analytics you might have already installed, because then all of a sudden your numbers will not correlate properly. And you'll see that because now your bounce rate will go from 40% to under 1%. And we've had that in a couple clients, and it kind of threw us for a loop. And we found once we fixed that within a day or two, it kind of fixed itself.
I was going to throw out, good point, Nate. We're going to just mention that we got some good comments coming in from our feed. So anybody watching the show can always post comments. But one person, and I was going to get your guys' take on this, commented that SEO does, in their opinion, require a serious statistical analysis program. Do any of you guys use any applications for like analyzing, keywords, competitor sites, backlink profiles? There's a lot of applications out there. Do you guys use any of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, did you want me to share the secrets on it?
Oh.
No, I mean, Moz, Raven Tools is great. Moz, if you can subscribe to it, they have great tools. But it really kind of goes back to your Google Analytics and your Webmaster Tools. If you're looking at that on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, because that's where everything kind of comes from more or less anyway. And if you're using maybe a Screaming Frog SEO spider tool, which kind of tracks to see if you have any missing alt tags, missing meta description, your title tag is too long, these kind of tools will kind of help you.
I get a little wary getting too wrapped up in watching the analytics and the tools. I mean, to some extent, you have to come in every once in a while and check and see what's working, what's not, and where your headaches might be. But a lot of times what I see, especially with dynamic content, and where people should be focusing on getting a good story out and getting something that getting their content out. The people get so wrapped up in watching those analytics. I've seen people, I've talked to people, and they're like sitting there checking their analytics 6-7 times a day, and you're like, go on now. You're not being time here, and we gotta get you off this. Just don't even check your analytics for another month. Don't check any of your analytical tools. Ignore it. Move on. Work on your content, because you can really know where your content's going by your interaction, by comments and how social media.
Right.
Certainly, you want to be able to go back and check and make sure you don't have any of those bad links. You don't have any broken links. You don't have this problem or that problem. But a lot of people get so wrapped up in watching those analytics that I actually discourage them from actually getting involved in a lot of that stuff.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, Jason. And the bottom line is, if there are conversions, if people are contacting you through your website, downloading your white paper, whatever it is, there has to be some type of event that you want them to do on the website. Pick up the phone, contact, whatever. If they're doing that, then you really do not need to look at it, like you said, every day. And that's why I said look at it weekly, bi-weekly. Set up a monthly report for your conversions, your page speed, see where your traffic's coming from, if your keywords are really hitting it like they should be with your new content that you are creating.
Yep. What else we got? Anything? I know we're hitting that hour mark. Well, we've hit it.
Sorry.
No, I'm not opposed to going beyond an hour if we've got an hour worth of good content. But
I got another 2 hours if you guys really want to go.
Well, we might have to do that, because we've still got a whole nother discussion to have after this. Somebody was calling me out on something, or I know a couple of you are probably saying, "Oh God, the wife's got to get me. I better get off."
I will. We better close it up because it's past that time. But Google just released a thing where they're no longer doing showing images for authors, but yet it's still important for people to link their Google Plus profile or authorship to their site. So those that are watching to do this.
Is that confirmed that they get rid of authorship?
Not that they got rid of it, but they're not going to be showing it as much on their result pages.
So they've restricted it again, but they haven't gotten rid of it.
No, I mean, I foresee them putting it back, but it's Google. 1 week they play nice, next week, they play by their own rules.
I've been cut off by Google so many times now. I don't even. As far as authorship is concerned, I've given up. So,
as long as you're a good authority in whatever topic, then you're good.
Right. Well, yeah, that level of what a good authority just seems to shrink, and every once in a while that bubble will come back out a little bit, and it shrinks back up. And it's another one of those things where you can get really wrapped around the edges of it. And my authority just disappeared for this keyword, and now I'm losing my mind again.
Yeah, no, I've been there. I know that feeling.
Yep.
All right, is that a show?
I think so. I don't see any more questions, comments coming in.
We talk a lot about Google. Don't forget Bing. You do. It would be. It takes. It takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes to go Bing. No. Real quick. Stop laughing. I actually have a case study on this. HateMyCoworkers.com. It was a site I created back in like 07, 08. It got a couple hundred hits a day on Google Analytics. Everything was great. It was it was user-generated content. As soon as I submitted it to Bing, I got 8,000 hits in 24 hours. So, and it dropped off, obviously, because I didn't really keep track of it. But Bing should not be overlooked. Granted,
No.
it's always subsection number 2 below your SEO objectives, but it should be on there. And since Brian kind of mentioned it a little bit.
Well, I don't think Bing is all that hard to set up either, is it? I mean, if I remember right, it's like really, you can watch all your analytics from the Google side, and that's going to cover your Bing traffic as well. So really, all you do is go in and set in your sitemap, and I don't know, maybe tweak something here or there. But for the most part, it's mainly just submitting a sitemap to Bing and you register as the webmaster.
Exactly. Like I said, 2 to 3 minutes, and you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely not one to ignore.
Eh.
You can ignore it 99% of the way. Just the other one, make sure you give it to Bing.
Yeah, right.
Well, you can't ignore Google, especially not when you're doing a Google Hangout on air every week.
Right.
All right, let's wrap this up.
All right.
Oh.
We're calling that one a night.
All
Good
right.
SEO, great talking with everybody.
See you guys.
All right. See ya. Night.
Out.
Later.